I know your dad because I buried your dad. I buried your dad 23 years ago. And I told him exactly where his grave is. I told him that his dad died on a Saturday. I said to him, I think he was a couple of years old. His dad died on a Saturday. His mother went to the markets and she came back and found his dad dead. 33 years old or something like that. And subhanAllah, to meet his son here, who I remember because I were little kids, there was 4 of them. And subhanAllah, how would that have happened if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't decree it to happen by coming here and sitting on that chair, and Allah had planned me to meet the son of, and why was his dad's funeral so significant in this? Because I remember his dad's funeral like yesterday. Not that I just dig his hole, but I buried him. It was Ramadan. And that was the day Brother Ali, the man that seen his grave, asked me, is there another funeral? Brother Ali was the 40-year-old that I spoke about in one of the stories, that he came to a funeral, and subhanAllah, as he was leaving the funeral, he seen me digging on the excavator, and he said to me, is there another funeral? And I said to him, no, it's just a spare grave. Not knowing that 3 days later, Ali would be buried in that grave I was digging. Ali was at the funeral of Brother Jalal, Brother Jalal's dad. And you know, when I put the pieces together, it feels like it was yesterday, but that was 23 years ago. This is how quick time goes. This is how quick time is eroding. By the time this young boy gets to old age, we will be in the hereafter. I'll guarantee you that. Because the world is moving, our time is eroding, we're getting closer to our date of death, and every single one of us has one. And only Allah knows where it is, when it is, where it will be decreed. So don't ever believe that you're going to be here for a long time, because no one's promised tomorrow. You know, all we are promised is that we will face the angel of death. Our soul will be taken out, and the circumstances that will determine how our soul will be taken out will depend on the way we lived our life and what our last actions were. And if our last actions were at a gathering like this, then so be it, alhamdulillah. Because how many brothers have sacrificed what you have done to come for the sake of Allah, while other people out there are playing games, going to cafes or hanging in nightclubs. But you brothers were favoured by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be here today. And like you said, none of us know each other. I don't know most of you boys here, but I feel like automatically, yani, you're like a brother to me. And this is what Islam is. It's a brotherhood, and it takes away any sort of discrimination, any sort of racial. You know, we're all from different parts of the world. There's a Turkish brother here, there's a Bosnian brother, there's some of us here from different parts of our countries. But subhanAllah, we unite under one banner, that's Islam. And alhamdulillah, I'm honoured to be here, even though things could have not happened, but Allah decreed them to happen, and for me still to be here. And I value my time to be here with you. And you know, I could talk about death all day long, and I could share stories every day and all day. And I know everyone loves stories, but what will our story be? What will people sit and talk about you, how you died? And how did you die, and how did you die? Because every one of us is going to have a story. But wallah, that story is only going to be narrated in the way you live your life. What you take to your grave in action and deeds. You know how many times I go to the cemetery and I lay a body in the grave, and I'm usually the last. I mean, example, 2 weeks ago, young brother Ali Farah, you've all heard of Ali Farah, the 23-year-old, got sent home, and they said to him, go home, you've got leukemia, you've got tumours on your ribs, we can't do anything for you, go home and enjoy your time home. 23 years old, you know where he went? He came straight to the funeral parlour. He said, I want to see what happens when I die. Allahu Akbar. He wanted to find out where he's going after this life. Only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to decree that in a couple of weeks later he would die. And I would pick him up from that hospital bed where I was visiting him, where subhanAllah I ended up in that same hospital bed in that same room, bed 49, a week after I picked him up from that room and bed in Liverpool ICU. And I remember when I buried him and I put his legs to the wall of the grave, facing the Qibla on his side, and I was the last person to touch him, I said quietly in my heart, "Oh Ali, you prepared for this day, and you said to me, Ahmed, I don't fear this day. I just hope Allah has mercy on me." This is a 23-year-old who should have been playing Xbox, was instead going and picking up dead bodies with me, learning how to pray a janazah, and going to the cemetery to rehearse what eventually he went through. He was the actor on that day. He was the star of the show. And I was at his grave 2 days ago, and I looked at the grave like that, and I said, subhanallah, we walk amongst the earth. We walk on this earth with pride, with dreams, with ambitions, with motivations, with whatever. But you don't know if tomorrow people will be walking on top of your grave and they're reading your name like I read his name, Ali Farah 23, date of death, date of birth, and you're forgotten. And that's the reality of it, subhanAllah, that every single one of us will taste death. It's a promise. Will that taste be sweet? Will that taste be sour? That's determined on our actions. But what I can tell you is be prepared for that day. Because if you're not prepared for that day, then Allahu Akbar, as much as you want to read about the bad side of it, it's never going to be the same as when our soul experiences it. Because every single soul was created by Allah for a purpose. Every single one of us was chosen by Allah to walk amongst the dwellers of the earth. And every single one of our souls will be questioned about our time on this earth, how we spent it and what we did with it. And only, like Brother Shahib said, only through the mercy of Allah will we ever reach Jannah. Without that mercy, none of our deeds are equivalent. You know, I remember when I got kidney failure and I was doing dialysis, sitting on a machine for 7 hours, 3 times a week. I said to the specialist, tell me, this massive machine spinning, my blood going in and out, how much is it doing for me? He said, it's giving you about 10 to 12% function. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us 2 kidneys that gives you 100% function without being tied up to a machine, without being put into one place, just does it by itself. If that's not a rahmah on its own, then what is rahmah? What is the gratitude we have to give back to Allah? And putting our head down on the ground 17 times a day, it's nothing. Wallah, it's actually nothing. It doesn't even pay back for one of those lenses in your eye that focuses on what you're reading. As you're driving here, how many times did you focus on the signs? How many times did you focus on the cars in front of you without doing anything? Programmed automatically. But all that will come to a close. Your veil will be lifted and your eyesight will pierce like steel exactly where you're going on that time that you meet Allah. And you know, I'll end it with this, subhanAllah. The day I left, and this is how, the day I got up on those 2 Wednesdays ago, and I prayed my Fajr, I done my Adhkar as normal, and I was offered to be taken to my appointment by car, and I said no, I want to ride the bike because I want to make it back to wash 2 deceased and save the parking, save time. Not knowing that subhanAllah, Allah had a plan, that as I left my house and I was rehearsing my Quran, revising my Quran, I remember reading Surah Al-Tahrim, I got to Surah Al-Mulk, and as I started Surah Al-Nabat and turned onto the freeway, my front tire blew and my bike fell into another bike. I hit another motorbike, and I remember being on the ground. This is how quick life went. This is a person who sees dead people every day. I laid on the ground. I remember my finger stayed in tashahhud and I kept making shaheed there. I started to feel sleepy and I looked to the sky and I said, Ya Allah, I can't wait to see those angels coming in white, because I've heard it so many times. I wanted to live it now. And I felt like my whole life on this earth was only a few moments. Everything I went through earth, all the calamities, all the trials, all the tests, felt like they didn't exist anymore. It came down to that last moment. And I felt like, subhanAllah, that you didn't think about none of your worldly matters anymore in that position. You didn't think about your family. You didn't think about, and that was as close as, subhanAllah, I felt like I was about to depart this earth. And I ask Allah, if it ever, when it does happen, to put me in that state again, because I was in such a good state that I actually accepted it. And I actually wanted to return back to Allah. Because I said, how can I do wrong? I was going to wash deceased. I was reading Quran, and my last actions were as good as I can get. And I wanted to go at that time. SubhanAllah, my time wasn't up. And I say this for every single one of us. You cannot take a gamble on doing something that does not please Allah, thinking that I might get away with it this time. Because death could be that time waiting for you, subhanAllah. So always keep your guards up. Always keep your guard up. Keep your tongue moist with the dhikr of Allah. Because the more you do that, the more you'll be prepared for that day where you're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, boys, I can't add more than that because it's a long day, long night. SubhanAllah, maybe tomorrow we'll talk about some of the stories, some of the beautiful stories. Because, wallah, if you don't believe, you will believe that there is something called a good ending, a blessed ending. And I've seen it, I've heard it, the family have said it to me. I'll keep that all for another day. May Allah bless you all and reward you. Jazakallah khair.